Let's talk Wyatt Langford replacements and other news from the weekend up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, June 30th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and another week goes by. More injuries to talk about. Last week, we had Corbin Carroll. Wyatt Langford was placed in the IL on Friday due to a left oblique strain, retroactive to June 25th. Has been scuffling for quite some time, so perhaps this injury was lingering. But if you need Wyatt Langford replacements or just outfielders to add, there are lots of names available right now. So if we look at the names in shallower leagues, lots of interesting ones popping up, Scott. Cam Smith, Joe Adell. I'm just going to throw a bunch of names your way. Cam Smith, Joe Adell, Josh Lowe, Spencer Steer, 3-home-run game on Friday, Colton Cowser, Kyle Stowers, Cedar Rafaela, Jurickson Profar is coming back this week. Out of all those names, who are 2 or 3 of your favorites from that group?
It's really hard to choose from them because I think they're all good. I think they're all under rostered. I think they would all be fine choices. And if we're just focusing on week 15, I'll note that Joe Adell and Cam Smith and Kyle Stowers just missed being among my sleeper hitters for this week based on their matchup. So short-term options, I guess those would be the 3. But if you're thinking longer term, I think Jurickson Profar would be at the top of the list. He's supposed to come back from his suspension on Wednesday, so he's not going to get the full week, but pretty close. He's supposed to bat in the middle of the order, according to Brian Snitker. He talked about batting him second earlier, but now he's saying middle of the order. He put up great numbers on his AAA rehab assignment. Though the exit velocities were down, it's worth noting they weren't as good as last year. Small sample, but still, given the fact he's coming back from a PED suspension, I think it's noteworthy. But he was a stud, basically, for fantasy last year. And at his best, or I should say his best format, is head-to-head points. And that's the shallower one. That's the one where you might not be able to justify any of these outfielders. So I think because he fits even that shallower format, I'm going to say Profar is number 1 here. Number 2, I'm going to say Josh Lowe, though he has the issue of sitting oftentimes against lefties. He sat against 3 of the last 4 the Rays have faced, but power, speed, he's providing them, striking out less too, so batting average. He just seems like the complete package if he can get enough playing time. And then third, I think I got to go Cam Smith here. Did I pick somebody else on the full-length pod? I want to say I did. But I've got to pick Cam Smith now. I'm going to highlight Cam Smith. He's since mid-May. It took him about a month and a half to get going. But that's kind of the timeline we normally see for top hitting prospects breaking into the majors. So now in his last 39 games, 328 batting average. It is kind of a hollow batting average for most of that time. The power's been lacking, but he homered twice over the weekend, and the exit velocity readings certainly suggest Cam Smith should hit for power. So I do think he's coming around and could be in for a big final 3 months.
All right. Well, those were some outfielders that you could look at, some Wyatt Langford replacements. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll catch you up on the latest news from the weekend. We'll do all of that right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. We did get an update, kind of, on Yordan Alvarez. Astros GM Dana Brown said Sunday that there's a chance Yordan Alvarez joins the Astros next weekend against the Dodgers, but added it's, quote, not the most likely scenario. So do with that what you will. I don't think we're starting Yordan Alvarez, but he's been hitting. It seems like he is progressing, but we still don't have an exact timeline there. Bryce Harper took swings in live batting practice Saturday, assuming he doesn't experience any setbacks with his right wrist. He could return on Monday. So depending on what news we get Monday, if it's good, get Bryce Harper back in your lineups. No surprise, we get a bunch of Dodger pitcher updates. Tyler Glasnow is expected to require at least 2 more rehab appearances before being activated by the Dodgers. Blake Snell is, quote, probably not close to facing hitters. That's according to Dave Roberts. And Emmett Sheehan next start will come at AAA. That last note, Scott, kind of a bummer for this week. they're going to reassess after that. Maybe we see Sheehan in, 2 weeks from now. He's been dominating the minors, but the sooner we get him back, the better.
Yeah, and I think he is the top minor leaguer to stash. So I'm not going to overreact to that. Dave Roberts said after his next start at Oklahoma City, there might be some things happening. So it seems like he's sort of intimating that Sheehan will be ready to join the Dodgers rotation at that time. So yeah, I would consider him the top minor leaguer to stash still.
We do have some players dealing with some injuries, and people might have to decide whether or not to start or sit this week. Jeremy Pena has missed 2 straight after being hit by a pitch in his ribs on Friday. Scott, what's your latest thought on Pena? Do you start or sit this week?
He's been great, but this injury is a bit concerning. I would try to sit him. Also, the Astros record of kind of downplaying injuries comes into play here.
Josh Naylor has missed 2 straight with neck stiffness. He dealt with some shoulder stuff earlier in the week. How do you feel about Josh Naylor?
It doesn't sound like a serious issue, but it might be related to that other one. If you have alternatives, I think you could lean towards sitting Naylor.
Hunter Goodman has missed 4 straight due to a left hamstring tightness. This one's tough, Scott, because we've had some catcher injuries recently. Goodman has been so good this year. What do you think about starting him this week?
And the Rockies have the best hitter matchups this week, and you'd like to be able to take advantage of those. But this is a little scary. They do sound hopeful that he'll avoid the IL, but 4 days already, you backdate it, and just to play it safe, it kind of makes sense to put him on the IL. And catcher's deep this year, even with the recent injuries. So I think in one catcher leagues, you should probably play it safe and sit Goodman.
And Kerry Carpenter left Sunday Night Baseball with a right hamstring injury, scuffled early on in June. He's coming around lately, hitting more home runs again. How do you feel about Kerry Carpenter?
Yeah, okay. I mean, you got to be careful with the Tigers matchups. If there are too many lefties on the schedule, maybe shy away from Kerry Carpenter. It looks like there's 2 lefties on the schedule out of their 6 games this week. So in 3 outfielder leagues, I would probably sit Carpenter, but 5 outfielder leagues probably have to play him.
We did get updates on 4 pitchers that are working their way back from respective injuries. How would you rank these 4 just in terms of their stash ability? Shane Bieber, Yu Darvish, Luis Heel, and Nestor Cortez.
I like the order you listed them off there. Bieber, Darvish, Heel, and Cortez. I think Bieber is the most likely to be impactful of these 4 by a pretty substantial margin. He is coming back from a serious injury, of course, and might have the longest still to go. But Darvish, Heel, Cortez, especially those last 2, I'm not confident they'll be viable in 12-team leagues in the long run.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.